Hey everyone, and welcome. So, if you're a student from Nepal, you know that studying abroad isn't just a plan, it's a life changing dream. But as we look ahead to 2025, you've probably heard the whispers. The whole landscape is shifting. So, let's dive into our guide to navigating all the new rules, the challenges, and of course, the incredible opportunities that are still out there.
You can feel it, right? The excitement of getting a world class degree, exploring a totally new culture, maybe even kicking off a global career. It's a massive step. And honestly, in today's world, being prepared is everything because the goalposts, they're definitely starting to move. Yup, from visa rules to what you can do after you graduate, things are changing quickly in a lot of the most popular countries. But hey, don't worry, change isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it just makes the path clearer. The real key here is knowing exactly what to expect so you can put together the absolute strongest application possible. Okay, so let's kick things off with the big four. The countries that are probably at the top of your list. We're talking Australia, Canada, the USA, and the UK. Each one has its own kind of unique set of new hurdles and pathways for 2025.
First up, Australia. Now, they're definitely tightening their belt, especially with stricter assessment levels for students from Nepal. This just means they're looking at applications with a much finer toothed comb. But, and this is a big but, for anyone who gets it right, the rewards are still fantastic. So let's get into the specifics. For 2025, the big trend for Australia is this stricter Level 3 evidence requirement. What does that mean? Well, it means you're going to need way more documents, especially to prove you have the funds, plus a really compelling genuine student or GS statement. The challenge is obvious. If your application has any weak spots, the risk of rejection is higher. But on the flip side, the opportunity is huge. And honestly, this is the main thing to remember about Australia right now. If your paperwork is perfect and your intentions are crystal clear, the door is still wide open. We're talking high visa success rates, the chance to work part-time, and yes, even those pathways to permanent residency are still very much there. All right, next stop, Canada. They've also rolled out some major changes, especially around money and post-study work. Basically, they're trying to create a system that's a better match for the country's actual economic needs. So the headline here is the higher proof of funds requirement. You just have to show you have more money saved up. Plus, your postgraduate work permit, the PGWP, is now tied much more closely to what the Canadian job market actually needs. So yeah, that means you have to choose your study program very strategically. But the upside? It's a clearer, more direct path to a great career in Canada, and often at a lower cost than you'd find in the US or the UK. And now for the United States. It is, without a doubt, still home to many of the world's absolute best universities. But all of that prestige, it comes with some pretty significant hurdles. Student visas are available, for sure, but the process is famously tough. The challenge here is really a three-parter. First, that super intense visa interview where you have to prove you plan to return home. Second, the cost is very high. And third, you need a top-notch academic record. But the opportunity is just unmatched. You get access to world-leading universities, there are scholarships out there, and you walk away with a degree that's recognized absolutely everywhere. And to round out this group, we have the UK. It offers world-class degrees, and you can often get them in less time. But with some recent changes, you really need to be strategic, especially when you think about life after graduation. The really critical change to know about is the shorter graduate visa. Bottom line, it just gives you less time to find a long-term job after you finish your studies. Combine that with needing a bigger budget, and it means you've got to have a solid plan from day one. But a degree from the UK is still a powerhouse asset, and if you plan well, the work opportunities can be excellent. So those are the heavyweights, the traditional go-to options. But what if you're looking for something a little different? Maybe a path with lower costs, or just a totally unique cultural and academic vibe? Well, that brings us to two economic giants that are really gaining steam as amazing study destinations, Germany and Japan. They offer a completely different set of trade-offs and, of course, rewards. Let's talk about Germany first, because it has a truly game-changing offer for international students. It's actually possible to study for free or for very, very low fees at its public universities. That alone makes it a real powerhouse for accessible education. So what's the catch? Well, the trade-off is pretty clear. First, the language barrier is a real thing. You'll almost certainly need to learn German. Second, you have to deposit a good chunk of money into what's called a blocked account. It's basically you proving to the government that you can cover all your living costs for a year. but the opportunity is just massive. A world-class education, especially in fields like engineering, without that crushing weight of tuition fees.
Okay, now let's jump over to Japan. This is an absolutely excellent option for students who are looking for a safe, stable, and highly structured environment, especially if you're interested in something like technology or management. A lot like Germany, the main challenge here is the language and, of course, getting used to a new culture. But Japan offers really great opportunities for part-time work to help support you while you study, and you'll graduate with seriously strong credentials from a country that's famous for its innovation and discipline. Phew, okay, we have covered a lot of ground. So how does all of this actually stack up when you put it side by side? Let's pull up a simple scorecard to make the key differences between these 6 countries crystal clear. And here it is. This really puts everything into perspective. You can see the budget needs range all the way from very high for the USA down to low for tuition in Germany. The key challenges are all very different, from those intense interviews in the US to the language barrier in Germany and Japan. And the perks are just as varied, whether you're looking for PR pathways in Australia, the prestige of a US university, or the sheer affordability of Germany. Think of this as your starting point for matching a country to your own situation. Look, at the end of the day, there is no single best country. There just isn't. The best choice is the one that's the right fit for you, for your finances, your career goals, and your personal comfort zone. So, here's a super simple 3-step framework to help you decide. First, be totally honest with yourself about your budget. Second, make sure your destination actually lines up with your career goals. Are you aiming for a specific industry? Do you need post-study work? And third, be realistic about your willingness to learn a new language. Answering those 3 questions will narrow down your list in a big way. The world of global education might feel more complex right now, but it's also packed with diverse and exciting possibilities. By really understanding the landscape and taking a good look at your own strengths and goals, you can turn this whole challenging process into the first step of an incredible adventure. So, the only question left is, where will your journey begin?